war. But what it ultimately kind of boils down to is who gets the faster start, right? The person who gets the Nissa who shakes the world onto the battlefield first will have a significant edge. And because Bertu is playing the kind of all-in ramp style, not the Simic flash deck, he doesn't have counter magic. So he's really just hoping for the absolutely most explosive start possible to kind of match up with what Luis is trying to do. And he does have a little more ramp, right? Because Salvatto has chosen to play a little more removal in interaction, he doesn't have nearly as much ramp that Lucas has access to in his deck.
Looks like Lucas has decided to mulligan to 6 here, but he has now kept. And he's got a pretty nice hand, all told. He's got ramp with Nissa who shakes the world. What more could you possibly want out of life than that? Look at that, even a Gilded Goose now to contend with the Grazer if you'd rather have that instead.
Yeah, great start for Lucas. I mean, he's got the Grazer. He just wants to find lands at this point so he can play that Nissa as quickly as possible. He does have the potential to run it out here turn 3.
Untapped Green Source here too, lets him play Gilded Goose and Growth Spiral.
Yeah, huge.
Plus empty out all of his lands here. Woo-hoo-hoo. Look at this. Turn 3 Nissa.
That's
it's on the
turn 3
docket.
Nissa.
Now, is there any way to interact here if you're sitting in Salvatto's seat? And the answer is nope.
Nope.
Not right now.
He's got a Brazen Borrower, but even if he chose to bounce the Goose, Bertu can simply still play land number 5 and run out the Nissa here.
Which he will certainly do.
And I think you're still going to see that, right? You're going to see Bertu run out the Nissa here, attack, and I think Salvatto still wants to kind of slow it down. You don't want your opponent that has all kinds of X spells in their deck to untap when Nissa in play, so you're still going to see that Brazen Borrower bounce the Nissa here.
Salvatto's like, great, turn 3 Nissa, this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, but I mean, Salvatto's going to be able to follow this up with his own Nissa.
Yep.
The land shall conquer you.
So the question is, can he break serve here? Can he take the initiative back from Lucas with his own Nissa not facing down one on the other side, but knowing that he will be facing down another one?
Yeah, so there is a potential lethal attack on Nissa from Lucas because he's going to be able to replay the Nissa, have 2 lands to attack. So Luis just needs to choose a land that he wants to kind of throw away to keep that Nissa in play next turn.
It'll trade off for a land regardless.
Exactly.
Right.
And what you want to be doing is basically, choosing the land that you want to throw away. Definitely want to be keeping those forests in play because of Nissa's static ability.
And you see him attacking here because as the logic follows, if I was willing to trade it off on a block, I'm also willing to trade it off on attack.
Absolutely. It has vigilance, so might as well attack here.
And Lucas says, well, if you were going to trade it off when I attacked anyway,
exactly.
I might as well not take the 3 damage. Yeah. And he's going to make the block.
Both players know exactly what's up here.
Yeah.
Lucas is going to do the thing. You know, next turn he's going to run out the Nissa here, attack. And actually, that was also a great draw here because he does have the food here. He can animate the land, attack Nissa, then play a Risen Reef.
Yeah, not a bad draw at all there for Lucas. And the Risen Reef can be the start of some very beautiful things from his perspective.
But keep in mind, and now Luis Salvatto is going to untap with Nissa in play, and look at his hand.
Ooh.
That's a Casualties of War. This is going to be huge.
Ooh, he's got some business. Yeah, he can fire that off if he wants. He could also go for a big Krasis, but you just got to love Casualties of War and then Krasis the next turn.
Right.
And the untapped Overgrown Tomb is not a good sign for Lucas.
And you always know when your opponent's casting the Casualties, by the way. They're spending their time. There's like a 6-second delay.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the pace of play has suddenly shifted. You know a Casualty's coming. You're like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Not like this.
So what is he going to lose here? Is it going to be one of the lands, a Risen Reef?
Yeah, it's going to be Forest. That's the land.
Yeah.
The Risen Reef for the value. And then the Planeswalker in Nissa. Those are the 3 permanents that Luis Salvatto is going to get with the Casualties. And if his Nissa stays in play, next turn he's going to be able to slam a gigantic Hydrate Krasis.
Wow. Great stuff here from Luis Salvatto. And I mentioned he needed to try to break serve, and he's actually done so. It's interesting because Bertu got right back on board, and look at Bertu. He's like, don't do it, don't do it.
Thumbs down.
And that means he figured out exactly what's happening here. And there it is, the big Casualties of War. All of a sudden, there's 0 power on the other side of the battlefield.
All right, interesting. Yeah, Luis just maximizing on his mana there and not attacking with the 3-3, just wants to get the Brazen Borrower in play.
So I wonder if Agent of Treachery is anything relevant here. He would need to find a mana source next turn, a land.
Yeah, it's really interesting because if he did, he doesn't get to scry off the Castle Vantress. But if he does want to be able to give himself the opportunity to cast Agent of Treachery, he needs to draw an untapped land. He needs to also make a food off this Gilded Goose.
Yeah. The question is it too late given this Hydroid Krasis hitting the battle?
3 lands off the Krasis, maybe he has a shot.
He's pretty far behind on board, but maybe he could steal Nissa and start doing things or something.
Yeah, I think he's probably just too far behind on board. And this Casualties of War, I mean, this was kind of the mirror breaker.
Yep, it really was. The absolute devastating play. You saw the look on Lucas's face when it hit. He knew that was really the death knell for this game, and it would be so difficult to come back after that. And he's also found a Leafkin Druid, so he can't cast the Agent of Treachery anyway. He's going to scoop him up, and a big head nod there from Luis Salvatto because both of these players are at 4-2, and that means a win will send them on to day 2, a full round early.
Yeah. And things get a lot more interesting after sideboard now because, you know, kind of one of the trumps that Salvatto had pre-board in game 1 was those Casualties of War. But now where you're playing against a blue deck, they're going to have counter spells in their sideboard. All of a sudden, those 6-mana spells become a liability. Yeah, you can see Lucas bringing in 4 copies of Aether Gust. Extremely effective here. Although what I really want to see is a finale of Devastation for 10. That's what we've been waiting for.
Oh, yeah. Go big. We almost got to see that from Andrea Mengucci.
Yeah, he milled both finales, or excuse me, he cast one, milled one, and then also milled the Endrace Forerunner, so did not have the actual way to do it.
All right, deck was submitted here for our players, and we are ready for game number 2. This one could decide the match. If Luis Salvatto is able to finish off Lucas, he will advance to day 2, and he'll put Lucas on the ropes. He'd be 4-3 and really need to pick up that win. Ooh. Ooh.
This is an extremely clunky hand. You can't keep this one.
That's much better.
Yeah.
Boy, you said you wanted to see a finale of Devastation, but that's not really
no,
you
kind of want to ramp into it. The thing is, these are both ramp decks. You simply just can't keep a hand that doesn't have any acceleration.
All right, there's Gilded Goose off of the forest. Make food, pass the turn. Now, how about this hand here from Salvatto?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's got the Growth Spiral, multiple lands here. So he's going to be able to ramp. Then he's got the Casualties of War. So lots of interaction here as well.
He's got his Incubation Druid as well.
And if you're on Bertu's side, probably going to want to use the Finale of Devastation to find more accelerants. If you can get up to 5 mana, finding a Risen Reef would also be nice.
Salvatto's debating between Growth Spiral and Incubation Druid, it looks like. And he's decided on the Growth Spiral. He's going to go ahead and let Lucas make some food here and then fire it off where he's guaranteed to resolve it. That was on his own end step before passing the turn. And hello, Risen Reef.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best possible draws here for Lucas.
Does Lucas need to consider leaving up Negate? He is now going over that in his head right now. Is there something devastating that can happen next turn?
No, there isn't. The most important part of the curve is the turn before you hit land number 5. That's when you have to consider your opponent being able to slam Nissa, who shakes the world. Before that, not a whole lot of things can really punish you. So this is the turn where you actually just can deploy a threat, follow that up next turn by holding up the negate.
So he's going to put a Grazer on the bottom of the battlefield off of the Scry from Temple of Mystery, then play Risen Reef. He did that first so that he could perhaps keep something good. And he found an Aether Gust before passing the turn back. And now we get to see Incubation Druid hit the battlefield as well as Epic Downfall to stem the bleeding here and not let that thing go off, which it absolutely can. It wasn't going to here necessarily, although maybe a Finale of Devastation would let it. Now he can pass the turn back with Ether Gust and Negate available.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, Lucas took the 2 damage here, kind of basically telegraphing that he has counter magic at this point. So Luis can actually just kind of play it safe here. He can either choose to use the scry effect of the Castle Vantress that's in play, or just adapt onto the Incubation Druid, and when you untap, he's going to have so much mana available to him.
Love that plan. I mean, sure, it's a little risky. You could blow away your whole turn, but guess what? So did Lucas. He didn't do anything that turn.
Yeah, and really interesting to see Incubation Druid here as the 2-mana accelerant of choice, because kind of what we've seen people play recently, especially with kind of the rotation of Goblin Chain Whirler a few sets ago, was people playing Paradise Druid. That's especially in a 3-color deck, right? If you're playing that, you want to be playing that, but Luis actually just wants to go even bigger and play the Incubation Druid because there is a lot more upside there.
I'm a little sad, Paul. He actually did just activate the Castle Vantress rather than adapt the Incubation Druid. We'll have to live with that.
Yeah. And one of the best possible cards here, if you know that your opponent is holding a handful of counters, the card that you most want to draw is Hydrate Crisis, because even if you do have the counter, you're still going, it's a cast trigger, so you're still going to be able to get the value and draw those cards to eventually run your opponent out of counters.
Well, Lucas was hoping to get the Incubation Druid with Ether Gust in response to adapt. He's just going to settle for, yeah, let's just send that thing away and put you back on mana a little bit. Curious to see where it ends up as well. Bottom of the library. He's got enough mana, doesn't need it.
So now Lucas can Finale for 3 and get a Risen Reef and still keep up Negate. I wonder if he's going to go for that here. He can also tap out, and that means he's going to get a Cavalier of Thorns, most likely.
That's what he's going to do here, Paul. He says go big or go home and goes for the 5. So there's the Cavalier. That trigger is going to reveal the top 5. He's going to get a Temple of Mystery right onto the battlefield, and thankfully for him, a bunch of lands go in the graveyard.
Yeah, but now the coast is clear here, right? He's tapped out, and now Luis can slam Nissa, and he might have mana to even cast a Casualties of War as well.
It is not impossible.
Yeah, he has the mana. He can tap the Paradise Druid. No, he will have to tap one of his forests to cast the Nissa here. Because if he tapped the Paradise Druid, because he has 3 lands that produce blue and black, and then the Castle Vantress.
Okay, well,
so he's 1 mana short.
He'll have to settle for just Nissa Who Shakes the World this turn. Oh, the Cavalier of Thorns is big. It's a 5/6.
Yeah, alternatively, he can just cast the Casualties of War here, get a land, get the Cavalier, and maybe a food.
Together, we will prevail.
Oh, he's gone for the Nissa Who Shakes the World.
Behold,
Untap a
nature's
Watery
true
Grave
power.
and pass the turn back. A Castle Vantress off the top of the library for Lucas. Might serve a role later, but what is he going to do now?
Well, now he has the potential to Finale for 7, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if he does, he can actually get an Agent of Treachery and steal Nissa Who Shakes the World.
Oh my goodness sakes. That would definitely force the Casualties of War. But as you mentioned at the top, when we came into this round, Paul, you know, one of the huge turning points in any of these games is if a player not only gets to play Nissa Who Shakes the World, but gets to untap. Right, that's where the real fireworks can start, and we got to see that in game number 1, and Lucas is no doubt aware of that as well.
Alternatively, he can just choose to Finale for 5 if he does have another Cavalier of Thorns. That's kind of the more conservative line, because you get a Cavalier and you still have Negate up for a potential Casualties of War.
Instead, he's going for it.
Yeah.
There's Agent of Treachery on the battlefield, and he says, I will take that. Does he have a breeding pool?
He does. Wait.
Oh, he didn't do it.
Oh, no.
My elemental friend.
He should have targeted the breeding pool because that would have given him Negate mana.
Yes, that's why I was asking about it, and he didn't see it. That could be a big mistake here.
Oh, that is huge.
Like,
absolutely
negating
huge.
a Casualties of War to maintain this board state? Oh, no. This one could come back to bite Lucas.
I mean, this could just be a backbreaking play here because Luis can nearly stabilize here if you can just slam that Casualties of War next turn.
Yeah, and then he's the one that has the gas in hand with the 2 copies of Massacre Girl. Sure, she's legendary, but still, that card's good.
I think Luis just running the numbers here, just debating whether or not he wants to trade here.
He is going to, in fact, trade, but he still takes 5 damage from the Cavalier of Thorns, down to 13. Oh, no, another Casualties off the top. Oh.
This is so brutal here.
It's so difficult to survive 2 copies of Casualties. We did actually see it earlier. Cat Light defeated 2 copies of it, but
Right.
it does not happen very often.
Now keep in mind, Lucas does still have a ton of mana in play, so he still has plenty of good draws here, but this did give Luis the opportunity to potentially come back here. Yep.
Huge blowout, as it usually is. Now, the Cavalier of Thorns will trigger. If Lucas would like, he can exile it to put one of these on top of his library.
And Luis not looking very happy about that, and I think it's because he took the trade on the land, but remember, with Casualties of War, he could have actually just blown up that land, right? Which would have just been an additional, and he would have had a 3/3 in play.
That's right. So this actually makes it so that Luis gets more lands off the table for Lucas, but yeah, he kind of was in a good spot. And did you see that? He got back the finale of Devastation, but you see the head nod there from Luis Salvatto as he looks to gear up and fire off the second copy of Casualties of War.
Yeah, this one is not going to be as impressive though, right? You're only going to get 2 permanents here. You're getting the Goose, and yeah, it's gonna run into a negate. And so now, Lucas will have access to 7 mana here, so he can finale for 5, and if he does have another Cavalier of Thorns in his deck,
Get the ball rolling again.
right.
Okay.
oh, wow.
Hello,
wow.
Nissa who shakes the world.
Okay.
That's just what the doctor ordered. And there she is, right back on the battlefield, and we could see a massive finale next turn.
Protect that which cannot protect itself.
But
Hello.
Luis does at least have a pretty good play next turn. He's going to be able to run out that Massacre Girl and destroy the entire board and have a 4/4 Menace creature in play.
Not too bad.
Right. But
But
Lucas,
the key, yeah, right, untap with Nissa plan is in place.
Yeah, Lucas is going to have access to 11 mana next turn. He's got the 4 forests in play, along with the Temple of Mystery, and then of course Nissa can untap a land.
Well,
So
the
he
temple will die here, right?
Can, well, he's got the one in the. He's got 2 temples in play,
I
right?
see, I see.
So he's got
land.
yeah. So he's got access to 11 mana. If he draws an untapped land, if he draws any land, he will have access to Finale of Devastation for 10.
Oh, there it is.
All right, and that's just lethal, right?
It has to be. That's kind of the game
This
plan,
was
right?
this was my wish list.
You got it, Paul.
right.
You got what you wanted.
The land fights for us.
Oh my goodness! Double click
Yep.
the +5 and
Or
off
10.
we go.
Are we seeing
Boom, baby.
a pig here? Oh,
And
come on.
raise
We got to see a
Forerunners.
pig, right? I mean, Cavalier's probably just the correct play, but...
Right.
Yeah!
Big Pig hits the battlefield, and that's going to prompt a concession. And Lucas Espert-Berthoud, you see that head shake and the face slap there. He knew the mistake he made.
Absolutely.
Right when he made it. He got away with it, and he says, okay, I got away with one here. I got to focus in and pick up this victory, put myself into day 2.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was close.
Yeah.
But that Nissa,
Yeah.
A-okay.
Yeah, no, Nissa is I mean, it is the key card of the matchup, so
Right.
it's very, very important. But it looks like he actually boarded one out. Maybe it's, you know, kind of some of the concern of running into a card like Casualties of War, where if they do cast it and you resolve a Nissa, you just lose so many additional permanents. And as you can see, Luis actually just down to 1 Casualties of War after sideboard because of the existence of all the counter magic after sideboard.
Yeah, he saw that in the gate and was like, well, let's just not trade 6 mana for 2.
I'm assuming there's a Hydra. Oh yeah, the Hydrocrisis must be in the 2 mana slot here.
Ah.
I do like Luis just overloading on those X spells. Not only that, he's got the full 4 Hydrocrisis. On top of that, he's playing 2 copies of Gadwick too.
Yeah. Hey, if you're gonna untap with Nissa, you gotta go
Yeah.
big, right?
Ooh, this is very slow here for Lucas. You're on the draw too.
Oh, boy, if your first turn, I mean, look, if you draw a Growth Spiral, you're just super happy, but man, if your first play of the game is a Risen Reef on the draw.
I'm thinking Gilded Goose. That's what you want to draw.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. If we get to pick,
Right.
Now it's also interesting for Salvatto here because he's got the kind of dream, the double Growth Spiral. But look at his mana situation up there.
Is there a card missing? Is a card floating somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but it was Castle
All right,
Vantress,
yeah. So
he's actually-
Salvatto's, that's an easy keep for him.
That was kind of fun. He made it interesting, and then it was like, oh, that's not as interesting.
Yeah.
He brought the
Hit the most important card.
Okay, here we go, says Bertu. He doesn't want to go down any further. Got to find a 1 or a 2 drop with this.
Yeah, it helps that he's on the draw with the Skyland, and that was big.
Oh!
That was big.
Bingo, baby. Growth Spiral, not too bad. Lucas says this game's easy. Never had a doubt.
I think Salvatto just kind of wants to run this out of main phase just in case there's counter magic. Just get it in play, get the ramp going. Yep, Salvatto with a nice start, but Lucas following it up too here.
So let's see what he can do.
But Salvatto is the one with the Nissa, and Lucas currently doesn't have any disruption. There is no counter spells in his hand.
Yeah, this is a nice turn here for Salvatto. Also, he can leave up Ether Gust. And there's also Growth Spiral available if he doesn't find any good Gust targets.
You can actually, yeah, Growth Spiral, put the Watery Grievance play untapped, and still keep up
sure.
Ether Gust. So very, very big.
Didn't even see that. Yeah, just do both.
Or just Castle Ventress not taking any damage here while you're
even
at it.
better. It's just getting better by the minute here. And he's going to go for it.
Wow,
He's
okay.
The growth Spiral here.
I like it. Going for the big, big tempo play here. And next turn, Lucas, I mean, if he doesn't have anything else, he's probably just going to tap out and run out the Risen Reef, unless he wants to bluff the fact that he has a counter. That might be his best chance of actually winning. If you keep the Growth Spiral on top, don't play the Risen Reef, and at least bluff a counter, that might be the way to go. Because now the coast is clear, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now Luis is just slamming Nissa, and he's going to just start going to work here.
Yeah, this is just a disaster scenario
Harness
here.
the elements.
Plays the land, animates the land, and starts bashing, and the window is going to close very quickly here for Lucas. He's got to make something happen. He can play both lands here and then play a second Risen Reef, which really does start to get a value trade rolling.
For sure. Yeah, Salvatto needs to draw a big spell, but he does have a Massacre Girl in hand, so he can get those Risen Reefs off the battlefield, although he will lose a force in the process, but probably worth.
Definitely. Double Risen Reef.
Attack first.
Really nasty.
And I'm sure Bertu might also see what's happening here, because he's just like, wait a second, why didn't you animate your land and attack here? So
yes.
Massacre Girl is probably coming here. So this is huge. And then he's got the Circuitous Route. Now he has all the mana in the world. He will be able to upkeep Castle Vantress and just continue digging for gas. Lucas really needs to find an answer for that Nissa.
It's got to be now, too. He just will not have the time, because if Salvatto finds any of his X spells, which we were talking about earlier, he's got plenty of them. If he finds one, he can just slam the door on this game. So, you know, Bertu is going to be in a top deck war here, and he really needs to find some action. And look, his hand is good. It just doesn't deal with Nissa.
Yeah, and I think Salvatto is just deciding whether or not he wants to cast Circuitous Route or just use the Scry effect on Castle Ventress.
Oh, interesting.
Because these next this next turn is huge for Salvatto, because he can continue developing his lead here, right? If he can find another relevant threat next turn, it's going to be so hard for Lucas to come back.
Yeah, he has access to 10 mana thanks to Nissa. Now this will add to that another 4. So yeah, it's really just a big question on what can he top deck. We're going to see Cavalier of Thorns here from Lucas. But if Salvatto can find a big X spell off the top of the library or
he's got
in conjunction, then he can just windmill slam a game winner. Cavalier's going to find Castle Garenbrig.
Yeah, and you can see it. Salvatto does have that upkeep stop. If you look all the way at the top of the screen, there's that stop in his upkeep. Definitely looking to scry here.
Gilded Goose, then a Growth Spiral. Okay, well, he's set up for some nice Hydroid Krasis.
Oh, did he draw?
He did draw. That's weird.
Huh.
I thought he was going to use the castle as well.
That's what I thought as well. Well, given that he drew the Growth Spiral, he can scry, cast Growth Spiral, and still play whatever he has on top.
So he's going to do that. So let's see if he puts a card on top. That's the key here, and that's what Lucas is going to be studying. And it's bottom.
Okay.
That's exactly what Lucas needed to see. Now he still has a cold rip here, though. Could be anything.
Right. Okay.
It's a Hydroid Krasis.
That is a Hydroid Krasis, and now he has access to 2, 4, 6, 8 mana. He can still play out a Hydroid Krasis for 6 here.
And you just do it, right? You don't.
Oh yeah,
wait
of
around.
course.
Yeah.
You want to continue applying pressure. You cannot kind of keep your foot off the gas here. You want to put pressure. You get that 6/6 in play. It's sized perfectly too, because it's bigger than the Cavalier of Thorns that's in play too.
And then your idea here is find some more action with it too.
Exactly.
Lucas actually taking his time here. And
Wow.
he's actually going to offer the Gilded Goose for the Massacre Girl trade here.
Interesting. Luis really just wanting to. I think in his mind he goes, okay, I'm so far ahead here because I have the Nissa and I'm gonna play this Krasis. The way I lose is if you somehow get to finale into the End Race Forerunners. That's what he's really afraid of.
That makes sense. Ooh, and look at this. He found Disdainful Stroke as well. Oh, there's the finale too.
And he can only finale for 6, so that actually ended up working out because finale for 7 would have been Agent of Treachery to steal the Nissa.
Luis Salvatto playing
Big,
beautifully
big,
here.
very big. And remember, Castle Garenbrig only gives you that additional mana to cast creature spells, so it will not work here with that finale of Devastation.
But Paul, the finale's getting a creature, so no, that's not how.
How big would it have been if he finale'd, stole Nissa, and then used the ultimate?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been sweet. But
Yeah.
look at Salvatto. He's like, yeah, he played that really well. Like offering that trade and actually getting it. His Nissa is now set to ultimate as well.
Yeah, and Lucas should probably play in. Interesting. He's going for the 6/6, looking for disruption, but I think I would have just gone for the 7/7 because then you have the biggest Krasis in play, right? So then Luis won't actually be able to attack.
Are we going to see an ultimate from Nissa Who Shakes the World here?
It looks like it. It looks like he's going to be floating some mana here first.
Yeah.
Oh
may as
yeah,
well.
here we go. All of the forests out. Although he's playing a 3-color
The
deck,
land
curious to see how many he
bestows
actually has.
opportunity for those
But
who
more
are
importantly,
worthy.
all of his lands also have Indestructible.
Yeah, it's really tough. He won't. Lucas won't be able to get through on the ground at all anymore. Wow, there's actually quite a few still.
Thinning out the deck here.
There's another Nissa Who Shakes the World to
We will
replace.
not fail.
And he's just making sure he can play the Incubation Druid, animate a land, and still keep up Disdainful Stroke.
And also have mana up for Castle Vantress activations.
Yeah,
and he does have all of that.
And he does, and he wants to do it all, and he can.
And he gets free attacks here because all of his lands are indestructible. So he can animate a land here and, you know, attack with all 3 of the lands here if he
Rise, my
wants.
elemental
Oh, just get him for
friend.
3, sure.
Oh,
He's
getting
also
with the
offering
Krasis.
the trade, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what's in Bertu's graveyard. Does he have anything there?
That he can dig up with one of the finales.
Yeah, the question is, does Finale into End Race Forerunners do it here, right? Because Lucas does have the mana here, right? So he's gonna have 11. I don't think so.
Don't think so either.
Yeah, because there's probably enough blockers here,
Also, they're indestructible.
right?
The Forerunners itself has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste, but it gives +2/+2 Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. But
Yeah.
Luis can soak up all of the toughness that you see on the battlefield.
Right. Close.
In an absolute pinch, you could even do the Incubation Druid, right?
Yeah. My guess is here he is going to go for,
Just a Cavalier or something.
yeah, but then this is likely getting Disdainful Stroked.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens. Luis Salvatto looking closer and closer to being into day number 2 here.
And this will be a lethal attack here from Salvatto, right? He's going to be able to scry. Next turn, he's going to be able to animate a land and also adapt onto the Incubation Druid. That's 5 3-power attackers to 1 blocker. So this should do it.
This should do it here for Salvatto. Another day 2 for him. I will remind you that Lucas Espert-Berthoud is not out, even if he does lose this round. He will come back and play the last round and try to win it and get into day 2. But for now, he has to sit on his hands. He says, go. Castle Vantress gets activated, and Luis Salvatto is winning on all metrics at this point.
Ooh, look at that too. It's an epic downfall on top, just in case Bertu has something like an Ether Gust in hand.
Epic Downfall on Cavalier of Thorns is nice.
Very, very good.
It exiles it, so you don't even get the trigger.
Exactly.
But Luis is looking at it like, well, do I really need though? Like, I actually have lethal anyway.
I mean, given that the only card that messes you up here is in Ether Gust,
Ether Gust.
I think you just go for it. So yeah.
There it is. Epic Downfall is going to send it. And Lucas Espert-Berthoud extends the hand. That is Luis Salvatto.